Hi everybody, LTD here with another episode of You Can Cook Too. Today we are going to be making Tori Ramen. Ramen something very close to my heart. I love eating ramen, all kinds of ramen, even the instant kinds. But most of them aren't really healthy, and here's a very simple way broken down for you on how to make really good ramen. So you start off with your stock, and to start off your stock, we start off with aromats. So I have an onion here which I'm just roughly slicing, some ginger which I'm also going to be roughly slicing. In fact, all the vegetables are going to be roughly sliced, a leek as well, a carrot, dip until that, and then just slice them up. I'm also going to be adding a whole apple, just sliced just like that. The next step then is to char all those vegetables and then transfer them into a stock pot. In my case, I'm using a pressure cooker because I don't have 8 hours to cook. Now, I'm also going to be charring some chicken carcass, a whole chicken's carcass to be exact. You can have it done from your supermarket or do it on yourself, up to you, right? Now, into the stock pot, I'm adding a piece of kombu as well as some dried mushrooms. Now, I am then going to only add 1.5 liters of water, to which I'm going to cook on high full pressure for at least 1.5 hours. Now, moving on to the ramen dough. Now, you can get a recipe in the link below, but I'm just adding some high protein flour, some salt, as well as my secret ingredient, sodium carbonate, which is made from heating bicarbonate soda. Okay, now adding that into the dough will cause an alkali reaction which will change the dough into a nice yellow hue, as you can see over there. No egg, just alkali water. Okay, the exact measurements, please check the recipe link in the description box below. Now after that, I'm cutting them in half, storing the other half on one side, squishing it a bit flat, and then going through the pasta machine. You might be wondering, why didn't I need this first? Because, well, number one, I'm too bloody tired, and number two, this is much easier. Okay, so essentially I'm rolling it out on a thicker setting, folding it back in half and then in half again, and then rolling it back until the gluten develops. This way it's much more faster, and because this is a relatively dry dough, this works much better than any other method you can think of. So do this, or you can go through the hard ways and just let me know how you feel. Okay, now by repeating this step at least 8 to 10 times, you will then get a very smooth dough. As you can see in the video, it's smooth as a baby's butt. Alright, and that's essentially what you want. So once you have the nice consistency, you can either let it rest or you can roll it out to the thickness that you like and then cut and then let it rest. So that's what I did over here. So I rolled it down, dialing the numbers thinner as it goes, and then eventually just flouring it as I go and keep rolling it out until I get the consistency of thickness that I want. Alright, so you can cut it into the thickness that you like. I'm just using the cutter that came with my pasta machine, and I'm just gonna cut them straight out just like that. Now once you have your ramen noodles, you want to weigh themselves out. For 45 grams of carbohydrates, you just want to have around 85 to 95 grams of noodles per serving. So I'm just dusting it with a bit of rice flour, measuring it out, and then just rolling into a little nice cute little coil, and then just leaving it aside. Now you can leave your doughs as is to rest for at least half an hour, please, or if you have the time, let it dry out in the fridge for about overnight, and you will get a much more condensed flavor. Now moving on to the next thing, the chicken chashu. So I'm having 2 bone out chicken legs here, and I'm just placing them on top of each other and then rolling them up in cling film, forming a little nice cute little sausage. And as you roll, you might want to poke a few holes here and there so that there's not a lot of air trapped inside, and just roll until you get a very nice little sausage mabob. Now I'm placing that into a Ziploc bag, of which then I will cook sous vide later on, as well as some chicken breasts. So I'm going to put them just plain into a Ziploc bag, and I'm just going to poach them in water, or I'm just going to, in my case, sous vide them. So 65 degrees for the legs and 60 degrees for the breasts. Now for the secret sauce of ramen, you want to make a tare. So a ratio of 2 to 1 of soy sauce to mirin. Pour that into a bowl. Exact measurements are in the recipe below in the description box. Add some sugar, and next will be your aromatics. In my case, I have some ginger as well as some leeks. The leeks will give a nice, almost grass-like flavor, which you won't get elsewhere if you don't use the leeks. So use the leeks. Next, I'm adding some cloves of garlic, and and that will add some nice oomph to the sauce as well. To that, I'm also adding a piece of kombu, and I'm gonna basically add next the most important ingredient, which is the katsuobushi, which is basically dried bonito flakes. Now bring that up. But before you bring that up to a boil, you add some water first because you don't want to burn, and then you basically bring it up to a boil, and then you let that flavor infuse for 10 to 15 minutes. Once that's cooled down to the point where you can handle it by hand, you want to then strain it and set aside. Next, we're going to be making the mayu. We're going to start with some nice cloves of garlic. I have about 2 whole, is it cloves or bulbs? The whole thing, right? 2 whole things of garlics, and I'm gonna either mandolin slice them or just slice them by hand. Next, I'm also gonna prep some dried chilies. You can put as much or as little as you want, with or without the seeds. I don't want the seeds. Now, into a pan, I'm gonna add half a cup of oil, and I'm gonna start frying the garlic, slices at low heat. The idea here is to turn this garlic black but not burnt, which is a bit difficult, even though the name, it's called burnt garlic. But yes, so you want to get them to this brown texture where you add then a quarter cup of sesame seeds, and that will cool down the oil significantly, and then your dried chilies. So your dried chilies then will then cool down the temperature once more, and make sure you turn off the heat at this point. And essentially you want them to crisp up and cook evenly. So as you can see, the garlic has now blackened, and it's not burnt, it's just blackened, it's not burnt, and there you have it. Now the last thing to do is just to add a quarter cup of sesame oil, and there is your basic mayu done. All that's left is to essentially just blend it up. So into your food processor, into your stovetop blender, pour the flavored oil with the ingredients in, and then blend this up. Now for you who do not know, mayu is also known as burnt garlic oil, and it's a very useful thing in ramen as well as other stir-fry dishes. This will add not only a new depth of flavor but also add a certain level of pungency that you've never tasted before. So I've added chilies here. You cannot add chilies if you don't like to, but hey, my Joe, my Schmo, you do whatever you want, okay? And there you go, that's essentially the mayu. Right, moving on. So to assemble, we have the chicken breast perfectly cooked at 60 degrees Celsius, and you can see how moist that is. No salt, no fat, nothing, just pure temperature control. So slice them up and prep your chicken chashu as well. I'm slicing them as rolls. You can open them up and slice them however you like, but if you don't slice them as rolls, what's the bloody point? So cut them into really nice rolls, as you can see, with a very sharp knife. Make sure you throw away the plastic though. That plastic ain't edible and it's not really that nice, so don't add plastic to your ramen. Now for the ramen, into a pot of boiling water, place it in, and depending on the texture you like, softer means you want to cook it longer, and if you want something more firmer, you want to then cook it for a shorter period of time. And in fact, if you have the guts to do it, you might want to then put it into ice cold water to firm it up a bit more, but in my case, I've just boiled it for about 3 minutes, and then I'm going to put it into the bowl immediately. Next, I'm going to add the tare, so about 2 tablespoons there, as well as the pressure cooked chicken stock. So you just want to cover maybe half of the noodles, coat the noodles in that stock first, and then place it and arrange it as you would like. And then that is where you add your julienne, spring onions, or in my case leeks. Both works perfectly fine. I've also got some stir-fried bean sprouts here. Really simply stir-fried with soy sauce and just garlic. I'm also adding some pickled bamboo shoots. You can get them from the local supermarkets, all done in the backpacks. And then I'm adding my chicken roulade or the chicken chashu, as well as the chicken breast. Now, over there you see some onsen eggs. Want to know how to make them? Check out the video from my playlist. So it's probably linked somewhere here and there. And you finish it off with the mayu, and there you go. You can obviously add some seaweed if you like, but this is what I did on that day, so yeah. So there you go. Chicken ramen, healthy and delicious.